I can't believe this is the last video and last sketchbook tour of 2024. Hello, my name is Veronica, aka Vespertiliu. I am an Italian comic book author, tarot and oracle deck creator, and your spooky art teacher.
It's me again, yours truly.
My sister got me this for my birthday. Should we keep this on? No, I don't want to catch fire, sorry. There we are. And welcome to the last video of 2024. Today's video is going to be the second part of this sketchbook tour. I loved working on this. This is actually a Moleskine Classic Collection notebook, but I use it as a sketchbook. And this is the sketchbook where I learned to draw directly pen on paper. So this is very special to me. You can watch part 1 right here, and today we're going to dive into the second half of this sketchbook. The first time it wasn't actually an halfway through sketchbook tour, we were slightly after the half point, so there's going to be less pages compared to the last time. But before we start, I want to briefly discuss expectations, in particular the expectations we put on ourselves. I put myself out here on the internet quite a lot, and if you've been following me for a while, you know that I can be extremely prolific with my art. In fact, this is the third sketchbook tour video I shared this year. As much as I've made my mission to advocate for imperfection and for the importance of embracing imperfection and embracing our mistakes, it is still true that the internet is a fast-paced place where we see something and we immediately tend to jump to conclusions. So many times, fellow artists, beginner artists, share with me their worries and their frustration in comparing their art and their artistic production to mine, not knowing what's behind all of that. What I feel the need to clarify once again is that I am not perfect, and I don't want to be perfect. I'm far from being always productive, and my art is far from being perfect, and that's why I love it so much. The key to defeating the fear of commitment, practice, and failure is to put back the joy in art making. I found myself talking about this topic in most of my videos, but lately I found a lovely online class called Drawing for Fun. Rediscover your creativity without the pressure. And you can check it out on Skillshare, which is kindly sponsoring this video. The whole class is divided in 7 chapters for a total of just 11 minutes. In those 11 minutes, your teacher asks you to shift your perspective, invites you to come back to drawing for yourself, and helps you put back the fun in your drawing practice. I highly recommend this class to anyone who'd like to try a more gentle and yet quick approach to rediscover their childlike creativity. But if you'd like to try something else, you don't need to look any further, for Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives of all capacities. With thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, productivity, drawing, and much more. Whether you want to find a new hobby, put back the fun in your craft, or learn stress-free productivity, Skillshare can help you reach your goals. If you're ready to start the new year by exploring your passions, the first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today. And thank you again, Skillshare, for partnering with me. And with that said, let's get to a sketchbook tour. So, welcome back to part 2. In the first part of this sketchbook tour, we arrived to this very page. This is one of my illustrations about the goddess. This goddess actually comes from a dream of mine. And I remember waking up and immediately feeling the need to draw her. And you've seen the first time I drew her in one of my previous pages in the first part of the sketchbook tour. So make sure to check that out. And yeah, I finished this page adding these deeper hatching in this part in the background, and that was it. As you can see, the pages of this sketchbook are really thin. They're also very smooth. Lately, someone asked me if this sketchbook had textured pages, and the answer is the pages are really smooth and it is also really thin. For that reason, every time I want to do a double spread, I have to leave a couple of pages basically. This one is another drawing about the goddess, only this time I decided to cover her face with this light coming from her basically. And on this other side, this is a drawing about the creative womb. It is a topic that really interests me as a creative person, and basically it is about the fact that no matter your gender, no matter what you're born with, each and every one of us has a creative womb. We have like a spiritual organ for creation, basically. I like this comparison between the shape of the female womb and the shape of a witch hat. And that got me the idea for this sketch of vespertiliu. But once again, even though here I drew it in the form of a female womb, the creative womb is actually something that belongs to each and every one of us. So here we have some sketches of stuff I had laying around. When I want to draw, but I don't feel really... I don't want to say inspired, because you can be really inspired but not have many ideas. When this happens, I just go on with still life. And then, of course, I had to add a little vespertiliu, another illustration about the goddess. This one is actually a rendition of my Empress card from my tarot deck. Let me see if I can show you the actual card. So this is the Empress card from Vespertaro, my tarot deck. And I just had this idea of recreating this card, but with the goddess. In fact, if you analyze the meaning of the Empress card, it is a very nurturing card with a lot of feminine energy, and so I thought it was fitting for the figure of the goddess, and I tried redrawing this card. This time it is a little bit more realistic, and there are still Vespertiliu and this other character called Machijan, which you can also see right here. But I also added my other character Gorgo, and I really like this page. And this inspired me to do kind of a whole series of witchcraft related illustrations. For instance, here we have Vespertiliu with the spiral, and then on this other page we have Gorgo with the triquetra. I hope this is how you pronounce it. And then if we move on, we have Machijan with the pentacle. Fun fact, Machijan is actually the Ace of Pentacles. She is also the main character for all the pages, and I think she also pops up in all the 8 cards, 9 cards, and 10 cards, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, she travels with Vespertiliu through the major arcana. This is another illustration about the goddess, and this one was made for the autumn equinox, and that's why instead of her usual hair, she has all of these autumn leaves. These are all little illustrations I sketched for my video where I designed labels for Witch Apothecary. Yes, this illustration right here is also for that same video. Here we have some doodles from my memo pad, and I did those probably while I was on the phone, and I don't usually save these things, but I thought they looked really nice, and so I decided to put them in my sketchbook. You might remember this from one of my Draw With Me videos. I have several Draw With Me videos on this channel. This one was inspired by an oak tree branch I collected during a quick vacation. So this is another illustration about the goddess, and this time I wanted to represent her linked to the triple goddess, and so I drew the goddess as Mater Dei, and so mother of the gods, and then I tried to depict her soul basically as the triple goddess, and then I added this ribbon saying Anima Mundi, which means soul of the world, and I am extremely proud of this illustration. I really love this one. Here's another one from the Draw With Me series. This time it is Vespertiliu with some roses. For this illustration, I used references for the roses, and then of course I improvised with my character. I, again, really like this piece. I struggled a bit while drawing this, but I'm really satisfied with how it turned out. This was just a quick fun one I did after breakfast one day, I think. And I quoted Dracula here, listen to them, children of the night. And actually, here I drew these white and black cats, but I was thinking about my cats. They're really loud kitties. And so I decided to draw this little page. So I really struggled with this page. On this other side, I decided to draw this flaming heart, and I tried to build kind of a gradient from the black to the red in the flames. I really like the design of this heart right here. While if you look closely here, you can notice I ripped a page, and that is something I'm not really proud of. But in this period, I was really struggling to have fun with my art and embrace my mistakes. I was actually rejecting mistakes, and I was getting really obsessed over perfection once again, which was a major red flag. Thankfully, I got out of that, and I am much better, and I'm having so much fun with my current sketchbook and also with the last pages of this one. So I ripped off this page, and I can't show you the character for obvious reasons. The problem is that when I drew this figure for the first time, I couldn't really be satisfied with that, and so I ended up ripping off the page. I saved that page. I won't show you because then I kind of scribbled all over it, but I assure you that there was nothing wrong with my first figure. And that is a great reminder that many times what we think is bad is not so bad at all. But I ended up with a cute drawing. I just feel it is a pity I didn't give its rightful chance to my first try. On the other hand, when I got to this one, I was really feeling myself artistically. I designed these tombstone with those wings I saw on a sculpture I found on Pinterest, and then I think I had just took a picture of my cat yawning, if I'm not mistaken, so I decided to combine those two things. And of course I had to add my character, vespertiliu, and then I liked the idea of adding some thorns all around the tombstone. I really like this one, and I really like how I achieved a good looking texture for the tombstone. And if you look closely, it's actually just very short lines all together, and they work really good to render texture of rocks and stones. So this comes from another dream of mine. In this dream, there were these three characters, and one was a giant white snake, and the other two were a very red fox and a black dog. And in this dream, the red fox was wounded and bleeding, and the black dog was standing beside the fox looking extremely sad. It was basically mourning this fox. And I remember in the dream I blamed the dog, and I woke up feeling so bad because it was so obvious. I remember in the dream it was so obvious the dog didn't do anything wrong and was basically there to comfort its wounded friend. It was a very peculiar dream. I, of course, ended up looking up the meaning of that dream, and I became really attached to these three animals, and so I decided to give them a place in my sketchbook. This is another very quick still life drawing. Those were a bunch of things I had laying around. I think I actually made up the key, if I have to be honest. And I didn't have this one at that time, but I had it in my Vinted wish list. Vinted, for those of you who don't know, is a website for thrifting, basically, for secondhand shopping. And I ended up getting this vintage chainmail coin purse. And so, yeah, I kind of manifested it in this page. This was the first time drawing W, which is my witch character. And I love this page. I struggled a lot with this page. This is a patch, in fact. My first attempt had her not showing her eyes at all, basically. She had her bangs covering the entirety of her eyes. I ended up with this solution, and I like it way better. And so, yeah, I really like this page. And here's another page about W. Again, this was a time where I really was struggling with embracing my mistakes and embracing imperfection. But I forgive myself for that. I am at a much better place now. I'm having so much fun with my art. And in the end, I still ended up with very pretty drawings that I'm proud of. So I forgive myself for that. It's nice to learn from mistakes. It's the whole point. So yeah, this is again the triple goddess with W right here. And then here we have a double spread. Fun fact, this double spread wasn't on purpose. Basically, I drew this vespertiliu with my, at the time, brand new bag. And I wasn't happy with this one. And so I took a sheet of paper and I started seeing how I could do an alternative version of this, and my idea was to then glue this one on this page right here. But thankfully, in the end, I just realized there was absolutely nothing wrong with this drawing, and I ended up gluing it on this other side and having this lovely double spread with double vespertiliu. Here's another drawing of W. At this point, I still hadn't figured out her looks, her dress, but nonetheless, I really like this page. I also like that I made the spellbook come alive, and I kept this concept for future illustrations. In fact, here the book is actually sleeping, and I love this page. I think it's one of my favorite pages out of the whole sketchbook. And here is when I decided her name was W. I think I wanted to write the whole word witch right here, but I ended up just doing the W, and that's when I decided it was her name. And yeah, I adore this page. Actually, I want to give you a little extra for this sketchbook tour. So this is the first time I drew W as I basically now draw her. The only difference is that she was barefoot here, while now she wears shoes. And again, as you can see, I have my three little familiars, if you want to call them that way: the black dog, the fox, and the white snake. And there's also vespertiliu here, of course. And I had called this the initiated. And yeah, I really love this piece. This is an A3 sheet of paper. And yeah, I wanted to show you this as well. I actually have other drawings I made outside of this sketchbook while I was finishing it. I think I'm going to share those with you as well. So this big girl right here is an illustration that you can move, basically. You can turn it like a wheel. And in this half, we have the goddess Hecate. And in this other half, we have Diana Ephesian, I think is the right word. Those two goddesses, or archetypes, if you will, were often switched. And so I decided to try portray these mighty entity as one, and as a changeling, basically. And so yeah, I really like this piece. I struggled a bit with the face of Hecate here. In fact, I had to cut basically a hole and put a patch in the back, but I really like the final result. And then I have this other piece about the goddess. And again, here I was reading Women Who Run with Wolves. I drew the goddess, and on one side, she turns into a wolf, and on the other side, she turns into a lioness. I really love this piece right here. You might have seen those in the background of my videos, because I keep them on my drawing table at all times. I really like these pieces. I'm very proud of those. Moving on with the rest of our pages. Here's another drawing from the Draw With Me series. The reference for this drawing was a picture of Cher, actually. I really like this one. I love how I rendered the skirt right here, but I also really like the face of W. It's so simple, but I think it's really cute right here. One thing I loved doing with this sketchbook was going to draw by the sea and learning to render waves and the sea with my fountain pen. And it is something I haven't done yet with my new sketchbook. I certainly have to do it. And yeah, here I was sitting on the shore and kind of copying what was in front of me. And of course, I had to add the silhouette of W flying across the sea. This is another fun sketch I did about this candle holder I thrifted. It is in the shape of a star. I think you saw it in my favorite thrift finds video, and of course I had to add vespertiliu, and actually I had drawn the entire star beforehand, and so when it was time to add my character, I had to add a patch in order to make her pop out of the candle holder. I love this piece. Again, I have put a patch on it that wasn't necessary at all. The face of the character was absolutely fine at that point, but I felt like doing it. But I love this piece. I really, really love it. There are all of my characters, Vespertiliu, W, Machijan, and Gorgo. They're all dancing right here. And then I added these lyrics from the song Free by Florence and the Machine. And it says, and for a moment when I'm dancing, I am free. I love that song. Here's a quick sketch of Vespertiliu I did on train while coming back home from a comic convention. And here's another sketch of a goddess, not my usual goddess, with these elements of the moon and the sun coloring her breasts and the earth on top of her belly, basically. This was kind of a concept art piece for something I might have done in the future, but I ended up not doing anything with these. But yeah, it's a fun page. And this is day one of the Drawing a Day Till I Reach 100K challenge. For those of you who don't know, I am doing this challenge on all of my social platforms, and by following me there, you'll be able to see my sketchbook pages every single day on your feed. This is day one, and I really, really love this page. I think was the first time I really embraced imperfection and played with my mistakes once again. It was so freeing to do this vespertilio. And this is day two. We have a little mietitore. For those of you who don't know, mietitore means reaper in Italian. And he's actually Vespertiliu's love interest. And so, yeah, I drew him a little portrait, and then I added this frame made of this tree branch and Vespertiliu's hair. Here's another Vespertiliu on top of a statue. I got the design of these from, I think it was some architecture element I found on Pinterest, and then I played with it to make this kind of statue for her to stand on. This was so fun because if you watch the little art process I shared as a short or as a reel, you'll notice that I had completely messed up this drawing. The process of this piece was a mess, but the fun part of this is that if I hadn't made those mistakes, this beautiful tree behind there wouldn't even be there. So I'm so glad I did all of those mistakes, and I had to come up with waves to correct those mistakes, because then I ended up with something really, really cool that I'm really proud of. Here we have another little W with her broom putting her witch hat on top of her head. I think I had just watched Wicked, so I was even more obsessed with witches at this point. Another quick Vespertilio. I also decided to add this little crescent moon right here. And here we are to the very final page of this sketchbook. There are other pages, but I used those pages to take notes for a masterclass I took, and this was even before starting this sketchbook. So this is the very last page. I just drew this cemetery scenery with W and Vespertilio, and yeah, it's a really cute page. I really wasn't feeling like doing the hatching on everything. I just did for this first layer, and then I worked on the background and I focused on mainly on the characters. But yeah, this is the last page of this sketchbook. And with that, we are done. As I said, here are just notes from that masterclass. This was page 1. I really hope you liked it. And that brings us to the end of this sketchbook tour and of this year on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope this was fun to watch. When in January 2024 I posted my new first YouTube video, my expectations were closer to pure hope. And yet you helped me exceed those expectations. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this year amazing for my YouTube journey. This year might be done for the longer YouTube videos, but as you know, I'm currently doing the Draw in a Day Till I Reach 100k challenge on all of my social platforms. So there's going to be another day of YouTube shorts before we're closing this year on YouTube. So if you'd like to see more of my sketchbook pages every single day on your feed, make sure to check them out. If you'd like to help this channel grow, you can simply do it by hitting the subscribe button and liking this video. Also, if you like my art and would like to support my work, remember my very first tarot deck, Vespertiliu, is now available for purchase and you can get it at the link in my description. For those of you waiting for the newsletter, please have faith, but in the meantime, if you'd like to check older posts and get access to my digitalized sketchbook, you can do it by checking the link in my description. And for the last time for 2024, if you stayed till this point, thank you very much. I will see you very soon with more art videos. In the meantime, let's make art. Bye and Happy New Year.